So, how long has he been doing that?
When was it? 3:30?
6 hours ago?
Ooh, that's about 10 hours.
Holy Jesus. So, what's got him so bummed he's beating his head into a wall again like it's a sack full of kittens?
Ignoring the dark and the craziest part, just look down.
Video title? I didn't think that was enough to make a person go insane. Then again.
Caterpie is my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh card. Half-past cake is the best way to drive a car. The taco stand in my liver doesn't tell me what to do, but it says, "Hey yo, why are you licking the ocean?"
I think I'm gonna go get a bag of antidepressants and a sack of peas.
You do that while I still watch him slamming his head into the wall.
Remember this? I'm leaving you here with him. Not him with you.
Something I haven't talked about on this show is the video game to anime adaptation. Anime based off video games haven't been historically known for their high quality. Sure, there's some great stuff out there like Street Fighter 2V, Virtua Fighter, and Mega Man NT Warrior. And then there's the so bad it's good shit like Fatal Fury and Samurai Showdown. But most of the video game based anime haven't been very good. I mean, I don't expect much from anime based off of video games. But why the fuck was Legend of the Mystical Ninja so goddamn bad? Even Sonic X, for all of its faults, stuck to the original source material, and actually offered something meaningful and had actual fucking character development. After the first episode of this show, I immediately dropped all expectations. I was like, okay, you know what, maybe the show will be so bad it'll be a hidden gem in the rough. But nope, even after my lowered expectations, Legend of the Mystical Ninja still manages to disappoint me. For those unaware, Mystical Ninja was a game series made by Konami in the mid to late 1980s. It's known as Ganbare Goemon in Japan, and since its introduction was one of Konami's biggest franchises. The series takes place in a Japan where all Japanese mythology and folk tales are true, and stars a highly fantasized version of the Japanese hero Ishikawa Goemon. And despite being well received by critics, the series just never took off like Castlevania or Metal Gear did. However, Goemon was popular enough to get his own merchandise, toys, comics, and even his own animated series, which is what will be giving us a migraine today.
That's how serious this is. I must stop seppuku.
This show's characters are just incredibly annoying. No, not the main protagonists. Goemon, Ebisumaru, Yai, and Sasuke are all actually quite pleasant and act like they do in the games. But what bugs me is this.
Over to the Wonder Zone! Come with me!
Like Sonic X, this show insists on having human characters for Goemon and Co. to act off of. And just who is this kid? That's a good question. A better question is, who the fuck cares? He's not even important to the plot. He does jack and shit, and Jack's out back smoking a blunt. You see, Chris Thorndike, while not a good character, was tolerable because Sonic actually acted off of him. Quite well at that. He had a reason to be in the show, even if it was a bad one. This kid with his creepily small eyes, monotone voice, and stupid fucking hair has no purpose. He does nothing for 23 straight fucking episodes, and the whole show is spent trying to prove to us why he should be there. The same goes for all of the other characters. You see, I'd have no issue with the other characters if they had a fucking use, but they don't. Asuka, no, not the walking period from NGE. This girl, her name's Asuka, is another useless character who's just there to be put in danger along with all the other human characters that aren't from the games. So, what's the plot? Well, the show centers around the fictional representation of Goemon Ishikawa, simply called Goemon here. And in history, Ishikawa Goemon was simply a thief in the same vein as Robin Hood. But here, Goemon is a legendary ninja revered by many. He's a hero of the game world, as they say earlier in the series. Joining him is the lazy, overweight, and incredibly flamboyant Ebisumaru, who exists solely so the animators could put him in swimsuits in the end credits. The robot ninja Sasuke, and the green-haired Kunoichi Yae. Now, out of all of them, I actually like Yae the best. Her voice is the only one that doesn't get on my nerves, and to be honest, she's the most logical and rational of the bunch. Meanwhile, Ebisumaru and Sasuke aren't annoying per se. Goemon is,
Power! For all that's good, Goemon Impact!
Wait a second. I'd know that prepubescent voice anywhere. Mignogna. Mignognor. Shit, how do you pronounce that again? Still sound like a 13-year-old boy, I see. Although the dub was in 2003. Well, you sounded like a 13-year-old boy then, and not much has changed. On a lesser note, Sasuke is voiced by Frieza, and not a single fuck was given because everyone knows that Frieza might be awesome, but his brother was cooler. Goemon and his chums come to the real world from inside of their world, which is established to exist solely in the game. And yet he's from a multi-million selling franchise, and no one else on the planet seems to recognize him. You know, Konami, I think your marketing might be worse than Nintendo's. And they're there to prevent the evil Seppuku Maru and his 4 execute thingies from summoning the evil Lord Makua Muge into the real world. I guess so he can find a better apartment because hell's probably getting kinda cramped what with all the other evil lords taking up so much goddamn space. So every episode features James and not Team Rocket here trying to devise some sort of evil scheme to fill up the rage gauge. These schemes pretty much just involve being general assholes to the Japanese public and nothing more. Literally, nothing about his schemes are all that heinous or evil. Mad is more of a threat. And once the gauge is full, Jimmy Boy here summons a giant monster that for some reason always doubles as a mech to cause mayhem, and Goemon and crew have to stop him. But because Goemon is so damn tiny compared to these monsters, he has to find a way to fight them on equal grounds. And he does this by summoning this. Is it gone? Let's hope it never finds us. So every episode this happens, Goemon hops into the Molestotron 5K and beats up this Sephiroth-looking motherfucker. However, that all changes around the midpoint of the series. Seppuku Maru pisses off the Dark Lord with his constant fuck-ups, and the dude forces him to repeat his training. And in his place, he has this guy who has a head shaped like a penis. Yeah. Oh, and his homosexual android sidekick named Mr. Protein, who is not so subtly gay. Protein at first seems like just another bumbling lackey, someone for the show to throw at you for a few cheap laughs here and there. But as the show progresses, you learn that he's actually a sensitive and soft-spoken character who really just wants to do right by Muranashi and only wants to please him. In a later episode involving a robot competition, Muranashi enters Protein into the contest so he can raise the rage gauge and piss off a bunch of people. Standard fare for the show. However, the robot ninja Sasuke is also entered, and Protein actually falls in love with Sasuke. But while most anime, even good ones, would have used this as a joke, Mystical Ninja takes a strange turn by actually portraying homosexuals pretty well, actually. Instead of Protein's sexual orientation being the punchline to a bad joke, it's actually part of his character. And it's a good part of his character since it's something heavily reflected upon in later episodes. I guess so that Muranashi wouldn't feel too left out, the writers made him fall in love with What's-His-Dick's mom, but who the fuck cares about her? She wasn't in the games anyways. I mean, all the original characters made for this show were bland as shit, and there's no way they could make an original character in this whole show interesting. Wait, you mean Protein and Mudanashi were characters meant purely for the show and never appeared in any of the games? My god. Did they have one person write these two characters and then another write every other one? Like, Squinty Eyes here and his whole family are as bland as a Kevin Sorbo flick.
So in the last 2 episodes, Mudanashi has finally obtained enough energy to summon Dark Lord Herpaderpaderp to the real world, and does so using the help of a giant space MacGuffin. And not to spoil the plot or anything, but Goemon wins. And he uses the Rapatron. In fact, fuck, he doesn't even fight Lord Herpaderpaderp. No, Mudanashi turns the space station into a monster, and Goemon fights that for the final battle in a rather anticlimactic and incredibly disappointing fight that's no different from the fights in the episodes before it. In fact, the whole finale is just kinda...
It just ends. Like, the last episode has Goemon beating Mudanashi's space station monster, and never clarifies if Mudanashi and Protein died in the explosion. And the way the episode ends makes it think that there's going to be a 24th episode. So, I guess we're to assume that Makua Muge just put his hands up in his pockets and shuffled away after that last defeat. Also, what the fuck happened to Seppuku Maru? He was forced back into training midway through the series. Fairly sure by anime standards, his training should be done by now. So, we have this subplot that could have gone somewhere and actually made for a good second arc, but instead we end on nothing. This is worse than the ending to The Sopranos. At least The Sopranos just cut to black and let us think about what just happened. Mystical Ninja has an ending, but it feels like there should be another episode. Maybe the show got cancelled, and to be honest, I'm very, very happy. In fact, I actually believe somebody should be fired over this. And I mean somebody big at Konami. Seriously, get rid of Hideo Kojima. What the fuck are you guys using him for?
Maybe the show got cancelled, and to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised. Especially now with voice acting this terrible.
Oh no! I can't believe you deceived me!
Tsukasa!
Nice read, Velma.
The show is a repetitive pile of shit, made simply to cash in on the popularity of the series in Japan and to help boost the series' popularity outside of Japan. However, it failed, and while Goemon's games since the show have been good, I'm actually really glad that it failed. This show is so bad that I do think Konami honestly deserves it. Well, the show is harmless enough. It commits the 3 crimes a show should never commit.
The first is it repeats itself. It goes into a formula and stays there until the very end, never once leaving its comfort zone. Shows like Sailor Moon and Power Rangers follow a formula, but they break it up every so often for the sake of telling a story. Goemon never does that, not once. It never even thinks of leaving its comfort zone. The second law it breaks is it's boring as shit. A show can be bad, but it shouldn't be boring. The third and final law it breaks is giving Vic Mignogna more work. Seriously, fuck that guy, he's an asshole. Now, the show isn't bad because it doesn't follow the source material. It's bad because the things it does just aren't good. When you think of a Goemon anime, you'd imagine it would be about Goemon's wacky adventures with his chums in a highly fantasized version of feudal Japan, where they somehow have arcade games and jumbo jets and movies. Not this monster of the week bullshit, where the main focus is instead on this Larry Sue motherfucker who has no reason to be there, whose eyes constantly look like they're shrinking. It's fucking creepy. Look, Konami, take a note from Kirby's book. If you're going to make a show entirely different from the game's source material, at least make it good. Now, I don't have any clue of what I'm going to review next, so sit tight.
Tsukasa!
Dad, you're here!
Tsukasa!